It's good news. It's good news. Entertainment is back. So what do the controllers of entertainment have planned for the next 12 months? Let's find out and meet the panel. From Channel 4, Head of Entertainment, TV Events and Sport, Ed Havard. Just a brief applause, I think. That's enough. Lot to get through. From Channel 5, Commissioning Editor of Entertainment, Steve Regan. Enough. From the BBC, Controller of Entertainment Commissioning, Kate Phillips. From ITV, Head of Comedy Entertainment, Peter Davey. And last but not least, from Sky, Director of Sky Arts and Non-Scripted, Phil Edgar-Jones. Lovely lineup, obviously exciting to have them all in one room together. I'm going to try not to waste this opportunity by just getting stuff out of them that you get from one of their press briefings. So we're going to try and get inside their heads, find out what they like and dislike, how that might shape the future of our Saturday nights on telly and any other nights they can get their greedy little hands on. I'm also going to be taking questions from you lot at the end of the session. Post those questions via the festival app in the take part bit. So you won't have to humiliate yourselves by putting your hands up. Realistically, we might not have time to ask any of those, but I don't really care. What is great about these 5 is that they've all only been in their jobs for a year or so. So they're fresh, but they have had time to have a think about what their channels really need. So we're going to look at a few stats, but I'd like to start with a quick word from each of you about how you feel that entertainment priorities have shifted on your channels since you arrived. Ed?
Since I arrived, I think the range and scale and ambition of what we're doing, so the last 12 months since I arrived, we've done anything from ship the whole of the last leg out to the Rio Paralympics, have it sit at the heart of the coverage, through to a big new Alan launch we're about to do, new projects with Miranda Hart, Judge Rinder, Harry Hill, big new things on the horizon, and also even Cheap 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 we just launched, which I can't recommend highly enough to everybody. If you can't watch it, read the reviews, because the reviews are in themselves just brilliant entertainment.
That's sort of one way of pitching the show, I suppose. Steve?
I think entertainment's always been a bit tricky on Channel 5. I think it's gone from doing none to doing quite a lot in the last year. It's about lip sync.
Blowing your own trumpet there, Steve?
No, it's Ben's trumpet. I always blow Ben's trumpet.
Hello. Yeah. Part of the job description, I think.
So I think to go from like none, like last year I think we did like Up Late with Ryan, then we did a panel show, we did lip sync. Sean commissioned Blind Date, we're looking at more this year, we're looking at quiz, so it's like gone from doing very little to doing quite a lot.
Kate?
Well, I mean, the obvious shift when I joined was that we lost the voice to ITV, but for me, that was great because it just gave me a whole lot more money to spend and a whole lot more opportunity to try ideas on primetime Saturday night, which is the sort of big one that we all go for. So there are lots more opportunities there, and we're going to keep looking and keep trying big new Saturday night ideas. So I say that's the sort of overriding message from me, definitely.
Okay, and the thief sitting next to you?
Worked very well for us as well. It hasn't changed at all, really. In that it was a new brief when we came in, which was to refresh. So it was all about coming up with new ideas, trying new stuff, new slots, new faces. And it's only times like this where you kind of look and tot up. We've done, in the time we've been there, 41 new shows, most of which are series on ITV. So 41 new ones. And I think it was 17 on the digital, so it's nearly 60 new shows. So our brief was to refresh, and that's what we've done, I think. And the team have been fantastic. It's been really hard work. Good. It's a fun thing to do.
And Phil?
Yeah, so on Sky One, basically entertainment's making a comeback. So we probably since Got to Dance about 3 years ago, we hadn't really been in the game properly. So the Sky One, the focus of Sky One has shifted, so it's sort of grown up a little bit more, much more sort of focused schedule generally. So comedy, best of the US, and entertainment at the heart of the schedule. We don't do Saturday nights, of course, but we will do entertainment post-Watershed is our big new thing. And we're looking to commission, I've only been doing this since for about 6 months actually. So we've commissioned 3 big shows, and we're looking to do about sort of 6 shows, a mixture of big scale entertainment and fact tent across the year now.
Okay, so just before we get into the fun stuff inside your heads, we're going to look at some hard data, see if it backs up this assertion that entertainment as a genre is in rude health. So these are the top 5 rating shows of 2016. Bake Off, Strictly.
Move over, drama.
And it really is move over drama. I was with a drama producer yesterday. She was fuming about the title of this panel. I'm a Celebrity in Britain's Got Talent, so 4 out of 5. It's not bad, is it? Are you surprised that drama's not in there?
No.
No, not at all.
Good, that is absolutely the right answer. None of them, arguably, I mean, I know sort of, but none of them new.
No?
No.
Is that the problem?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just move on. Is it hard, though, to innovate with entertainment shows when you see, in the primetime slots, when you see these big... Oh, that's not what I wanted to see, is it? Okay, that's what I'm going to show next.
Ooh.
Just a little sneak preview. Is it harder to innovate when you've got these entertainment show juggernauts that are doing so well? Does it make less room for risk-taking, Steve?
Oh, sorry, me.
Don't apologise, just answer.
I just think, well, I think it's a bit different for
Yes,
us
it would
at
be
Channel
for us,
5
I
than
think.
it is anywhere. You know, we're with Ben, with, you know, for instance, so we did lip sync and we did, but they're pre-existing formats. So we're not going to be able to, we're looking at a quiz at the moment. And the quiz, we would not have been able to afford to go to this company and go, here's £600,000 for a pilot. We are buying something that's pre-existing. I think it's very different for us than it is probably for ITV or BBC One, who would be able to do that. So I think that with our entertainment stuff, we're more like we want known stuff. Because I think it's a new thing for Channel 5, whereas with ITV and BBC One, you're just used to seeing those kind of programmes on there.
But I'd say for us, I'd say the ITV juggernauts do make it tough, you know, and Kevin talked about it, I thought very honestly in his session, you know, when they've got these big shows and half the battle is keeping them at the top of their game, which, you know, they're doing very well. So when I'm trying to launch new shows, there's now actually not a time of year anywhere where I'm not going to be up against an ITV big beast. So that does make it much tougher. I'm not going to stop doing it, but we have to think more and more about what else can we do to put eyeballs on our show when these much-loved brands to sort of dominate the ITV schedule.
How does it affect your thinking?
Particularly, I mean, people are trying lots of new things. People keep talking about this, and yet, you know, we just talked about 41 new launches on ITV. Big risks are being taken, and I think, you know, when a big commercial channel like ITV do something like The Nightly Show, that is a huge risk, which has a catalytic effect on the rest of the industry. And well, I hope it does anyway, in the sense of people realising we have a huge appetite for innovation, we have a huge appetite for new shows, and I don't see that dipping. You know, we are, as I said, we're slightly in a period at the moment where we're sort of breathless in terms of how much we're doing. So that, I think, is exciting. It's just how they cut through.
I think it's also, all the entertainment producers in the room will know how hard it is to have a hit in this particular genre. And I think the fact that all of us here are now piling back into this with some gusto, and it's not a zero-sum game, it's good that we're all doing it. I think, you know, it's just going to take one or two things to pop again. Yeah. And it's easier for us in a way because we're not competing in the Saturday night arena, so we can do things in a slightly different way. And it's all about trying to carve out your own the thing that you want to be known for and your own kind of niche, as it were, in the entertainment space, which is kind of what I guess we'd both be doing.
I think those shows do cast a shadow. I mean, there's positives as well for us. We can launch stuff around them, and it's interesting. You know, Kate's worried about our juggernauts. We obsess about what's going to go up against Strictly. So it's the same thing. But I think in terms of new launches, which is really tricky, you have to forget, when you've got things that get 6 to 12 million, we're never going to launch something that gets that. Yeah. That's absolutely impractical. You have to change the thinking. And for me, anything over kind of 3.5 is great. And I think people forget most of those, you know, Bake Off, Strictly has grown. If you look, you know, you go back and look at Series 1 of I'm a Celebrity and Britain's Got Talent. Both were quite risky, but the money was a lot smaller then, and they've been scaled up. And I think that's what we have to do. And I think a big part of our responsibility now is to find a show that we all commission shows we love. That's why you commission them, that can then grow, and hopefully with a bit more investment and a bit more potential, you can grow them to get up towards those. You know, anything over 5 is unbelievable, but to try and get 5 on a launch, I think those days are over. We got close with Keith and Paddy, which was a surprise at 4.9, which was fantastic. But, you know, it's difficult because people go, oh, Saturday night, you know, X Factor gets this, BGT gets this. To launch and try and get those figures is impossible. So you've got to change your thinking, I think.
We're going to have a look, surprisingly now, at the top 5 travelling formats of 2016. There they are. Oh, good, a delay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So top 2 shows, shiny floor shows. You're going to do another series of lip sync, aren't you, Steve?
Yeah, there's one going out in January. Yeah.
Three UK originated formats there as well. Are we top of our game still in terms of format creation in the UK, Kate?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when you look at the lists of the sort of the new formats coming through, and also that, like I said before, that things like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and MasterChef are in 100+ territories and are still breaking new territories every year. You know, Bake Off, I think, when I used to look after it worldwide, I think we're in about 25. I'm sure it's gone up more now. So I think so, and I think also we're not so scared to take risks. I mean, certainly at the BBC, because we're not a commercial broadcaster, you know, we do have a public service remit, but it is simply to entertain people and sort of make them laugh and give them great television. So we can try things, and I feel I'm in an environment where I am allowed to take risks, and I think the UK is still the most risk-taking of all the countries. I mean, I look at America, which is an incredibly tough market, and you know, we all know a lot of the guys working over there, but I've yet to see, apart from probably Lip Sync Battle, but you know, that was allowed to grow on Jimmy Kimmel First and thing, and but most of their mainstream hits, I'm never sort of blown away by the sort of originality by them. It's all about the kind of production values and what they throw at it and where they schedule it and the prize money. But actually, if I'm looking for original shows, I would always look at the UK first, and that's not going to change.
Okay, that's a good start. Now we're going to get into your fantasy Saturday night schedules. So these are the 3 shows, past or present, that you'd like to sit down and watch over your TV dinner. Not necessarily what you would put on your own channel, but just what you like. So this is hopefully going to give us a sense of what makes you tick and not just be a press release. So Ed, going to start with you.
Good.
Here is your fantasy schedule. Talk me through it.
I can't see it.
So this is definitely not what you want to put on Channel 4 on a Saturday night. But this is the sort of stuff that I when I can't sleep, which is often, I gorge on. So I spend a lot of time watching Funny or Die stuff. I don't know if anyone else does, but it's extraordinary. And the 2 big shows are Between Two Ferns and Billy on the Street, which we'll talk about. I think we're going to talk about a bit more about him later. And we talked a lot about US talent at this festival, and we are spending quite a lot of time at the moment thinking about what we can do with both on-screen and off-screen talent. We're doing some work at the moment with the creator of The Daily Show. We've got advanced conversations with some on-screen US talent who are going to be doing some stuff for us soon.
Obama?
So, Obama is one of them, yeah.
It's a coup.
Yep. So, shall I whiz through it?
Yeah.
Then Toothbrush, obviously, you know, a defining show for us, indeed for entertainment generally. Amazing live performance from Chris, defining a sort of absolutely crucial piece of talent who completely informed the whole of the show. And we are, I slightly whisper this, but we are about to launch a new Alan show called I Don't Like Mondays, which is in this tradition. The prize is not a holiday, but an entire year of work. And it doesn't matter whether you're a lollipop lady or a lawyer, by the end of it, everyone arrives.
Commissioner.
Actually, this was the first. When it was pitched, I came in and thought, I want to be in the audience for this.
Yeah.
I want to win this prize.
Loves his job.
Loves my job that much. Yeah, everyone turns up with their resignation emails, and then by the end of it, someone gets to win a year of work.
Do you remember the bit where I said this wasn't going to be a press release, Ed?
Well, I'm trying to. You're trying
Carry
to
on.
get me to explain why what I'm interested in, and and Graham. Graham on BBC One is extraordinary, but this was my favourite incarnation of Graham. The ideas were just packed full of ideas, packed full of invention. Had a completely kind of extraordinary sort of tone on the channel late night, and I won't then say what I was about to say because you don't want to hear what my.
Oh, go on. I feel like I've been mean to you.
Okay, and so we have just done a pilot with with his company, with Rob Rinder, which is, again, in this tradition. So, stuff I love, and stuff we are doing that sort of feels like they are in this space.
In that mould.
Yeah.
Okay. Steve.
Yeah, this is mine. This is not really, I would put this all on Channel 5, and if I could, I would do a bake-off and I'd steal Mrs. Brown Boys from BBC. Sorry, Kate, but that is absolutely... So I think this would be the perfect Saturday night on Channel 5.
And Toothbrush appearing,
Yeah,
you
it's
haven't
the
conferred.
best
No, we haven't
entertainment show
conferred.
ever.
Yes.
By far,
Yeah.
by far, by far, by far.
And why Game for a Laugh?
Well, I was really late with my homework, actually, and what I did was I didn't think about this. I thought, I'm just going to say the shows that I loved. So I put down Game for a Laugh, and I watched it last week on YouTube, and the thing that I remember is it was just really expensive, and I just think entertainment needs to be expensive. And you were watching it, I was going, that's why I liked it. So these are the shows, if I could, that I would put them on Channel 5. But I don't think you should ever bring back Don't Forget Your Toothbrush. I think it was such of its time, but I think it is the best entertainment show ever.
Mm-hmm. Chris Evans would disagree about bringing
okay,
back. I mean, yeah.
He's wrong.
And Kate.
Yeah, didn't we know we won't put our own shows on there. Sorry about that. Tis was, I think that was the first show that made me love telly, really. And I just thought Tis was amazing. I remember the first time I saw it, it was that little kid dressed up as a character from Watership Down singing Bright Eyes, and then just having water thrown on him and being shoved off camera and just thinking, maybe I'm cruel at the heart, I don't know. But I just thought Tis was just joyful and brilliant, energetic, and it launched so many new talents. And I think my dad watched it because he liked Sally James in a tight T-shirt, so he'd always let me have it on because we weren't meant to watch television on a Saturday morning, and it was great. It was a real treat. And it's, you know, Strictly Come Dancing, I know obviously we have it on BBC One, but I just, I'm incredibly impressed with the production team, and like I said before, keeping these shows fresh and on the top of their game is amazing, and it has a great team behind it, and it's just, I just love it, and I would, you know, if I wasn't doing the job I would do, I would always watch it. I just think it's fantastic television, and, you know, it's the chemistry between the dancers, it's the way you do see people go from genuine amateurs to professionals, and it's the spectacle of it. And like Steve said, they're not huge budgets. We're working at the BBC, so we have to be careful. But what they do for the money, it looks really sort of classy and aspirational. It's incredible. And then don't forget your toothbrush.
One you've gone for, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I remember, you know, when I was working in telly and production in the early 90s, and I went for a job on Don't Forget Your Toothbrush and didn't get it.
Same here.
And was gutted because I absolutely loved it. And it was the innovation behind, and I used to work on Big Breakfast, and, you know, it's one of those things where you're having to come up with games, and actually that show, and it's a bit like Takeaway Now does, and Michael McIntyre on BBC One, they're actually kind of 6 shows in one, because these games are all so clever. And the best one moment for me of that was where there was a woman in the studio, and I think she was going to win like a sort of new kitchen or something. She was down, they had it all set up, and she'd almost got it, and then they said there's just one more thing, and then they cut to a giant crane over the Thames, and it was her, I think it was a bunny or a teddy bear, it was her daughter's favourite cuddly toy, suspended over the Thames.
And she did it.
And they said to her, if you want this, we're going to sort of cut the cord and your child will lose the toy. And it was seeing the genuine anguish on her face. And yeah, she did
and
it.
A close-up of the daughter as
yeah,
well.
and the daughter.
And
I just looked at it and I thought, telly just doesn't get better than that. It was just a great note.
Weirdly, quite a lot of
TV
child cruelty.
Coming up, child cruelty. Kids on the air, Tis was.
Kids crying.
Yeah, and I would say that actually, when you're looking, I do get pitched a lot of those kind of feel-good shows, those sort of, those hidden camera, those sort of shows in the old sort of Hot or Gold surprise vein. And I am sort of interested in looking in that area, but it's kind of like, how do you make it quite witty and edgy and funny as well, so it's not too saccharine and it's not too cutesy.
I was not expecting to take away from this session to be pitch more sort of cruelty to children ideas to BBC.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Yeah.
Peter, how would you spend your Saturday night?
Harry I chose just because I thought that was a genius show, and I like the fact it worked on 2 levels. It was, kids loved it, but it's obviously highly intelligent. It was kind of where we tried to get him back to on Alien Fun Capture. I think it's the closest he's ever been. I do think he's a genius. And also, that's a clip show. And we're all in the business now of dressing old formats and old ideas, because there's no such thing as a new idea, in different clothes. but there's no other clip show anywhere close to that. Just on Frontier was, I don't know, most people remember it's like the groovy version of It's a Knockout, the European version, when we used to like it, but they used to like us. And again, a bit like Steve said, it was expensive, and it was, you'd never seen anything like it. And you can draw a line through some of the stuff we're doing now, you know, Big Heads and Cannonball. I like people falling over, and unlike Kate, I don't like kids being tortured. I like to see Belgians and Germans.
Belgian
falling
kids,
over.
even better.
Yeah.
German kids.
And obviously, I haven't gone for any of the singing or all that sort of stuff that ITV go for. And late peak, I've put what I call old school reality shows, just because I think when they're done properly, they are like, I was going to say cheap dramas, cost-effective dramas, because you've got all the jeopardy, there's people you love, people you hate, very engaging stories, which is at the heart of all telly. And, you know, there's also the elimination, the end bit, where somebody's going to get it, which keeps you there to the end, which is brilliant. And it's just a slightly different flavour for Saturday night, slightly more engaging. Most people will know The Apprentice, obviously. The Mole they might not know. I put The Mole in slightly cheeky, that was 20 years old. It's a show I made, and there's nothing I like more than going home and enjoying my own work. But it was, and it's actually, it's interesting, it's a Dutch format. It was brilliant and ahead of its time, and they've just remade it in a kind of very Scandi noir way, and it's fantastic. Unfortunately, I can't get Kevin to redo it. But it is a brilliant
Just imagine you sitting at home looking at old tapes.
No, it's fine. I love. We all love our own
Yes.
work.
No.
Well,
There's lots I've done in my past, I
Some
know.
things aren't on the CV.
Yeah.
And Phil,
I cannot remember what I said.
Yeah, I mean,
Bloody hell, Phil.
it's a bit of a mess, Phil, isn't it? No order. The thing I took away from this is everyone else can only afford 3 shows. Sky have endless money.
Yeah.
Just take 7.
I was thinking more of the kind of on-demand culture.
Okay,
You can watch anytime you want it. I think I chose all of these because in their own way, they either reinvented something in a very interesting way or did something very, very different. So, you know, First Dates and First Dates Hotel, I think, was absolutely marvellous piece of work. I mean, dating has always been something that's sort of a perennial thing that we all sort of pile into, but it did it in a very authentic way, I think, and authenticity is at the very heart of that, and it's very sweet and warm and lovely. Gogglebox, I mean, Channel 4's. Gogglebox is just brilliantly entertaining. Again, it's wonderfully authentic. It's about how we live our everyday lives, and I think the best of entertainment can reflect us back at ourselves, and that does that absolutely wonderfully. 2 Ronnies are absolute genius. League of Their Own, I think, it's a good example. Again, we talked, somebody said earlier about, Peter, I think, said earlier about allowing us to show. I mean, you look at Strictly, the very first series of Strictly, it's interesting. It doesn't look as expensive as it does now, and it's gradually sort of evolved into that. But it hit, you know, pretty quickly too. League of Their Own started off as a half-hour show, not at the scale we do it now, and over the years we've sort of grown it into this sort of hour-long epic panel show events. Sorry, I should probably. I didn't quite understand the rules of this. Britain's Got Talent, obviously.
Pick 3 shows. It's complicated, it is.
Who says commissioners can make up their minds, eh? And then, yeah, but they're all just brilliant shows, which I would watch any day of the week.
So when you look at everyone else's picks and your own, do you think entertainment tastes have changed over the years, or is there a consistency? Because the fact that 3 of you have picked Don't Forget Your Toothbrush, for example, suggests that maybe we're still interested in quite similar stuff. Ed?
I think.
Or Peter?
I was just saying, it hasn't changed. People want to be engaged. They want to have a laugh.
Yeah.
And pretty much all those shows deliver all of that. So it's not rocket science.
yeah, and I think Toothbrush just felt like an event, and it was
Yeah,
this
I'd say.
extraordinary ambition of the team and Chris, and again, it's just finding that kind of iconic piece of talent who can carry a show like that. I mean, the fact that 3 of us chose it, we should bring it back and put it across all 3 channels.
Yeah.
Roadblock.
Yeah, easy deal to work out, I think.
I think also they all have a purpose. You know, there's also that sense of authenticity and purpose, and you know, an audience can make a connection. It's familiar. So it's all about. Often it's about reinventing things that are kind of familiar to all of us, isn't it, and relevant to our lives.
Not many of the juggernaut shows that we talked about up there. Is there still an appetite from you guys for that? Are the budgets still there? Are you looking for other shows like that, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and I think it's really difficult to do. If another I'm a Celebrity or, you know, BGT came along, The trick is spotting it clearly, but I do think the appetite's there. I think it's a major challenge because, you know, the next anti-deck vehicle, we don't know what that's going to be. It's going to be expensive by its very nature, but I do think there's an appetite to go all in if we find the right thing, which then you're exposed to more risk, but you've got to do it because you've got no other choice, really.
And I think the challenge for us on the BBC is absolutely looking for the sort of big juggernauts, and actually we do have money to spend, and next week I'll announce a new big performance show that we're doing, but we cannot be derivative on the BBC. We really can't. You know, that's why we have to be, you know, it's part of our agreement, it's how we work going forward. We have to be distinctive. And it's hard because, you know, the audience kind of want to be in a familiar space, so you don't want to give them something so far out there that they're never going to come. So my challenge is, how do I sort of do a show that does have a few sort of familiar beats or something that will bring the audience, but actually it is very unique and original within it, and that's really, really hard. You know, we can't take a show from another channel and launch it on my channel. I can't do that. So it's a real challenge.
Big Brother might be going, so... Yeah.
Can't wait for that question.
Oh, that's coming.
Who went through that?
Yeah.
There is a lot of nostalgia going on in the schedule, as you talk about the Crystal Maze. There's going to be a Christmas special of The Price is Right that Alan's doing on 4. Is that a trend that we're going to see a lot of? Because you mentioned kind of, you know, finding those common denominators, but you can just go back. I guess the BBC maybe would be less likely to do that.
Well, we're doing Generation Game, so that's coming back.
So actually not averse to that.
So, yeah.
We've done it a lot previously with, you know, Catchphrase and Mr. and Mrs. and Family Fortunes and Celebrity Squares, and I think it's helpful because it gives you a head start, and it, you know, you don't have to explain them, and there's a certain nostalgia, a certain interest coming back. I think it's quite. I don't think we're going to do any more because we're going to refresh. We did Blankety Blank, and I think that is probably it. But I do think the one I would have gone for, if I'd been allowed, would have been The Price is Right. So I think The Price is Right is brilliant. And I think Thames will do, I mean, I don't know if they've done it or... They'll do a brilliant job.
Yeah.
They're very good at all those things. And I think that's one. I think it's interesting. You look at some of them, Runaround was always my favourite as a kid, and I got that back.
Did you make it?
No.
He just watched
and I looked at it and it was terrible.
Yeah, what you remember.
Really
you can read.
mad.
Might read.
And slow and bonkers.
Yeah.
So a lot of the, you know, you've got to be careful the ones you pick.
The other thing is, you know, they're not without their risk. And bringing about the Generation Game is not an unrisky thing to do.
Yeah.
Crystal Maze was a difficult thing to pull off, you know. Brand new talent in there, Richard Ayawadi, huge new set build, new games, all the rest of it, and you know you don't know if it's gonna be able to live up to its hype. So, but we do them very, very sparingly. I mean, I'm on Channel 4. All the top shows, 50% of them are brand new. The other 99% are new within the last couple of years. So it is still a tiny fraction.
Well, I hated your maths there, Ed.
Yeah.
Your 50 and 99% was horrible.
Right, 50% are brand new,
Yeah.
and the rest are new within the last few years.
We'll talk about it afterwards.
But we're going to just say on the BBC for people out here, we're not going to be bringing back loads of you know, old titles. Generation Game was one that when we surveyed audiences and talked to them, it was always the one people talked about. They would love to see it back again, and it just felt right to do it. But you know, there will be reinvention within it, and you know, we may look at the odd sort of one or two things, but it's certainly very limited on what we will bring back, because we want to keep sort of pushing forward.
The survey said yes.
If there's an audience appetite for it, then it's a bit self-serving to be constantly saying, well, we're just not doing any. We don't care whether millions of people want to see the Generation Game.
Yeah, it's what they want. It's what they want.
And so it's, you know, if it's a tiny fraction of what you do, then I think it's a bit silly just to kind of go, well, we're not doing them just because.
Blind Date was a weird one, because that came to me and I had to sign off that we weren't going to do, because ITV had some ownership in it and we owned the name, that we weren't ever going to do it again, which was a bit scary.
Blind Date.
Oh, Blind Date.
A bit scary because you just think, you know, other people down the line might want it, but it's like footballers. You've got to sit there and go, I'm not Arsene Wenger, I'm not going to let it rot here, I'm not going to do it. And I think it's good that it can move and work for somebody else and production. But it was a bit, Kevin just said, you can stop this if you want, but do you want to let it go? And you did live slowly and feel it's going to be huge somewhere else.
And Steve?
It was.
Yeah.
It's not my commission, it's Sean's commission. He told me to say that as well. He's brilliant at his job. But I suppose that was Sean's commission. Actually, what Blind Date has allowed us to do, so that has done really well. We're now looking at new shows, new ideas to put around it. And on Channel 5, to put that on a Saturday night was quite a big thing for them to do, and it has worked. And so now we're looking at a quiz, which we would never have done 2 years ago. So having something like Blind Date has allowed us to look at new, original ideas. And, you know, we have got Big Brother. So I think on Channel 5, it's got to be a known kind of quantity to a certain extent. It's quite a difficult place to launch brand new, risky entertainment ideas. So for Ben, it worked brilliantly.
While we're talking about revamped formats,
you're going to ask me about Love Island. I'm really pleased I commissioned it.
I'm going to ask you about Love Island. We're going to have a look at a clip. Peter, what are we going to look at here?
A clip.
Okay, good.
At the end of the day, some people some people have to be with a couple people first, and sometimes they throw in at the beginning not the right people, and people wait just because they're coming, it don't mean they mean anything. I can't help it if I think I've got a person that I don't think no one can really have got anything on. Do you know what I mean?
Oh my God! What did he say?
That's exactly. You don't know what he means. But
Did you just sort of randomly select a time code? What was that?
I think if you listen to it, it perfectly encapsulates the show.
It does, to be fair.
In that he witters up, and you've got no idea. I mean, we commissioned it, got no idea. Looking at it, you just think I've got no idea. But it's not aimed at me, and it's aimed at the people that do speak like that and do know what he means. But the key thing with Love Island...
Please use that as the next trailer.
I think we have it. The key thing with Love Island is, going back to that point, is we could have axed it after Series 1 because it wasn't stellar. I mean, bringing it back was a risk. And you stick with it, and it started to take off last year. And I think, again, this is where commissioners, the role's expanding, it's part of what you should be doing. It's a brilliant team to make it. Obviously, it goes on to where I feel we contributed. There were two things. After it became successful, after Series 2, ITV went, brilliant, let's have it twice a year. And we said no, because I felt it'd kill the brand. And we said, if you want something else, let's find something else, which we've done. It's coming out next year. And the other thing was this big discussion about moving it on to ITV1, which I thought was ridiculous. Because the logic was, it gets 3 million on there and 2 million on ITV, it'll be 5 million. But it would have killed it, because you put him saying that on ITV1, you scare the horses. And for the people that like it, it's like your dad liking your new band, your favourite band. You know, if I start going to my kids, that Skepta chap's quite good, I like his CD, they'll never play it again, ever. So that's why, and we fought very hard.
I'm just off to watch them all.
Yes. It's very hard. We fought very hard to keep it where it is, and it's the right decision.
It's a good example of the right programme on the right channel aimed at the right audience, isn't it? Because in this world where everything's getting a bit more fragmented and possibly niche in some senses, that it just
but I
absolutely
watched
hits
it.
the right.
I did get sucked in.
Pardon?
You know, I mean, I did, because I don't know why. I don't know why I kept watching it, but I did. I mean, I watched it. There wasn't
you learn stuff like that.
Yeah, but in terms of role models for women, I mean, there wasn't a support swimsuit or a bush in sight, quite frankly. It was extraordinary, and you're sort of watching it. And I'm saying to my daughter, women aren't really like this. And she's thinking, yeah.
Men are. There's a new term. I was telling Sarah this the other day. Somebody told me there's a new term for the men in this, a spornosexual.
Spornosexual.
Sports and porn.
I might commission that.
Thanks, Phil.
Have you got a gap in the schedule, Steve?
No, not at all.
But what's really tough for the BBC is we really need to appeal to young viewers. And I was talking to Damien Kavanagh about this, and he was saying, yeah, but how can we do it when, we can't have a show on the BBC where, as Damien said very succinctly, you're waiting for the next fight or fuck. And he's right. It's just not something that we could do on the BBC. So that's why, certainly on BBC One and on BBC Two, we're looking for more sort of broad shows that will sort of bring in young, but you know, bring in all age groups. It's hard, and BBC Three is a real challenge. And I would say to everyone here, that is the channel where I'm not pitched enough ideas really. BBC One, BBC Two get loads of ideas, but entertainment on BBC Three is hard to crack when we can't do.
I might bring Spornosexual to you when Steve eventually
Yeah.
turns it down.
I mean, the one thing I'd say, the sex thing, I think was a complete red herring and is absolute relevance.
Yeah.
If people want to watch sex, you don't watch ITV2. And it was all, you know...
What do you watch?
I'll tell you afterwards. But actually, the reason it was successful was it was brilliantly made. And all the editorial decisions were fantastic, and the casting was brilliant, and the storytelling was brilliant. And it's a fantastic team, and they turn it round overnight. That's the thing.
And Ian Sterling was great.
Voiceover,
Because
script.
it's not factual. Love Island was brilliantly made. It was brilliantly made every year. Because it's not factual, people are sniffy about it. But the storytelling was amazing this year.
Yeah.
Also had a wonderful warmth about it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it
funny.
did.
Positive. There's
Funny
no darkness in it.
No.
And also as well, like, when it launched, you know, we launched Big Brother at the same time, obviously. Didn't do quite as well. But there was so much shit going on. I mean, there was like, everything was going on, so it just felt really nice to watch.
We're going to race through onto talent now. We asked each of you to give us 3 names of on-screen talent that you would pinch. Ed?
Yep. So, Miranda,
You have pinched
we've
Miranda.
sort of already pinched her, yeah. So, I think she is, obviously, we're very excited about what we're doing with her, but I think if we could do more with her, that would be a big ambition for us. Trevor, obviously slipped through our fingers. Satire remains a massive priority for us. The Last Leg's obviously doing brilliantly, but you know, what else can we be doing in that space? And he's doing an amazing job over in the Day Show, and it would be great to do something with him. And Billy Eichner is Billy on the Street.
Yeah.
He's a sort of crazy genius. He runs around the streets asking people if they've had threesomes with,
Shouting at them.
you know,
Yeah.
famous people and stuff. And I think probably he is one of the most exciting new talent I've seen, and if we could do something with him, I'd die happy.
Have you seen him in Friends from College?
No.
It's worth checking out. It's
Okay.
very. He is good. It's an eccentric performance.
Okay.
Steve?
Well, I've already said that I would steal Brendan O'Carroll if I could in a heartbeat. Peter, I mean, I think it was Ben was talking about it yesterday. They were talking about how channels are quite London-centric, and I think Channel 5 is quite northern, I suppose, and I just think Peter Kay, everybody knows him, everybody loves him. So those two, I think, make total sense. Sophie Willan, I saw her show last year. I don't think she's very well known. I thought the show was amazing. We commissioned Up Late with Rylan last year, which didn't do really well, but I'm really proud of it. And so we put Sophie, and I think it's quite difficult on Channel 5 to put brand new talent on. And that was why Rylan was so good. So we put Sophie on, and I just think she's amazing.
She's nominated this year.
I think so, yeah.
And Kate?
So Michaela I just loved in Chewing Gum, and I thought she was just this life force that sort of came off the screen. And when you see someone like that, you think, I wonder if she could ever do entertainment, because I felt like that show had a lot of her voice as well. And I'm just always keen to look for more sparky, sort of sassy talent that have that real charisma and warmth. Ant and Dec, I mean, they are, you know, phenomenal talent and hosts, and you just, when they do a show, or if you were launching a new show and you had Ant and Dec at the helm, the audience would immediately sort of have that trust. Okay, it's Ant and Dec, that, you know, this could be good, and that's great. And you know, there would be no Ant and Dec without the BBC, because they were brought together on Biker Grove. And
Let it go.
yeah, Biker Grove, and actually their first primetime show, you know, was Friends Like These. So it was one that they did. The BBC, you know, they slipped through the BBC's fingers, but what they've done on ITV has been amazing. And Adam Hills, I'm a huge fan of Adam's. When I used to work in sort of comedy production, I was up at Edinburgh. I remember seeing his stand-up shows go, You Big Red Fire Engine and stuff. And he's got incredible charisma. Again, I mean, he just makes you feel good. And I think The Last Leg is a fantastic show, and his voice sort of comes through, and he has that really good balance of, he can be quite sort of biting and cutting on it, but sort of has this sort of warmth and this sort of entertainment energy as well, and I think he's a great talent. And I think also he's multi-skilled. I think you could put him in lots of different formats, and he's brilliant.
Thank God we just signed his exclusivity.
Yes, I know he's exclusive to Channel 4. Yeah, very wise. Yeah, he's a great talent.
Peter?
Well, there's all the obvious, you know, there's Graham and Michael and Mrs. Brown, all that lot. But I think probably of the big names, Lee Mack, for me, feels the most ITV. and would sit perfectly on ITV, and is brilliant and very funny and warm and engaging and everything we'd want. Claudia, one of the things we tried to do, and it's becoming more of an issue now, disturbing lack of women hosting their own shows in prime time. And Claudia's fantastic, so I'd go for Claudia. And the last two, I've just put down, they're favourites of mine, and they're just people I would watch anything they do, because they're very accessible but also brilliant, and there's an intelligence behind it. The one thing I would say is I would never book either of them for ITV because it would kill their careers. We've got a track record of doing that for quite a lot of people. So they're in the perfect place.
All the agents' ears just pricked up. Oh, tell me more about this. Career death, you promise.
Certain people have done very well, but those people like that are on the perfect channels and sit perfectly where they are. So, but they're just particular favourites of mine.
Okay, and Phil. Again, it was. So we said three talents, and you said the new Anthem deck.
So I didn't accept the question.
No.
This is what. Well, I mean, I suppose we're in a slightly different place, and I guess my thinking is we're trying to wean ourselves off this notion of talent first. We're very much sort of doing format first, and then it's about. I've got sort of 3 or 4 ilities that we apply to our shows, and we're trying to create ensemble casts around them. So, this is ability, the basic ability to do it, a bit of marketability, and credibility. So why is this person in this show? So, for example, our new show, Revolution, which is a big, visceral version of kind of rollerball from the 70s. It's a skating and a BMXing show. We wanted people who had a logic for being there. This is I'm sorry for not accepting the question, but I thought there was a logic to what we were doing that sort of spoke into this. So we've booked Steve-O from Jackass, because he's sort of slightly mad skater person. And then we created an ensemble around that with Maya Jama, who's a newcomer, but she's doing one of your shows as well, Cannonball, isn't she? Jordan Banjo, and a commentator who's a very real expert in this area called CK Flash. So that just makes sense to us. And of course, in James Corden, we've got kind of one of the biggest global megastars, and he appears on every single proposal that we get sent in. You're just not going to get him. So we're trying to think of sort of we have an ambition to grow sort of new faces on the channel, basically, and they'll definitely be having a meeting with me soon.
That new faces thing, because I get that a lot. What comes first? Is it format king? Is it sort of? And I think on a smaller channel like Sky, actually, it's good that they're putting formats for us, particularly on those prime slots. You need talent. So we did launch 2 big new successful Saturday night entertainment formats last year. Michael McIntyre's big show and All Round to Mrs. Brown's, both new shows, both averaging between 6 and 7 million viewers, which is fantastic. What do they both have at their heart? A massive talent that people come to. So now, and if I am going to launch other shows and I haven't got that huge talent, it's like, well, is there another role in there, or do we sort of schedule it more cleverly? Because it does.
I mean, I think the talent. It's interesting you say you're moving away from the talent first strategy, and I think that part of the problem, I think sometimes is we all get pitched ideas with unrealistic talent attached. But for us, talking about Miranda, and everything she touches on Channel 4 turns to gold. When she did Celebrity Gogglebox, it was the most watched programme that year. When she did the Bear Grylls show, it was the highest rated Bear Grylls we did. There are pieces of talent that can just transform the show or can transform the impact. And we've got to be conscious of that, and we've got to be trying to work more with them.
Well, we're clever about where we grow talent, I think, and we have BBC Two, and I work closely with Alison Kirkham, who a lot of you know, who Alison has a brilliant format brain, and she loves entertainment, and her area crosses over with me, with Fact Ent, and she's David Brindley, and they're great. They love entertainment and get it. So we talk to them about what talent they've got and we've got, and Claudia did Strictly for Us. She's now doing stuff for Alison, and so it's not just looking at what you maybe traditionally think of sort of prime-time talent. There are talent in other areas, and that Fact Ent sort of entertainment crossover, I think, is really interesting.
Yeah, the crossover stuff is really interesting. Yeah.
Just as we come to the end, I want to go through with each of you a bit of chat about what you've got coming up on your channels. It's obviously all changed at Channel 4. Jay is off. Jay's relationship with entertainment was sort of like mine with cricket. On the one hand, I hate it. And on the other hand, I hate it. Do you think her departure is going to pave the way for some different stuff?
I think that's a very unfair characterisation. I mean, genuinely, actually, to be serious for a moment, that's seriously not true. She backed the jump, she backed huge plays, she backed stand up to cats, all that sort of stuff. So no, I don't think it will all change. I think it will. I think we're doing a lot, and we'll continue to do more. We'll continue to take big risks. We want to be big and ambitious. There's a lot. We've got big budgets, and we want to invest in big Friday night shows, and I think we're about to see a clip of one of them.
Yes, this is.
I Don't Like Mondays. It's quite hard to sort of sum up in a 30-second clip, but this is from the pilot.
Get Peter to pick it for you.
Yeah. This was the pilot, which was done a few days ago, and this is Alan trying to work out what sort of professions there are in the audience and how much we're going to have to shell out by the end of the hour.
So when's that going to be airing?
Early next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steve, lip sync battle, blind date, Big Brother,
Make or break.
Make or break.
That's coming back.
What do producers need to sell you something from paper rather than? There's a lot of
I think if it's like we're looking at this quiz at the moment. It hasn't been commissioned. It's a really big idea. I think that pre-existing big entertainment shows has to be like an unknown quantity. It has to be made somewhere else. But we just did Make or Break, which done really well. And that's just off paper, so it doesn't have to be anything apart from that. But ultimately, Ben's got to buy into it. Ben's got to kind of believe in it. But we are looking for, so I think Make or Break we did for every night for 2 weeks. I think we're looking at doing it for 15 nights next year. I think we need more stuff that, it comes down to Big Brother as well. We want to relook at Big Brother. We want stuff that can kind of go on for that many weeks. That's what we're really looking for.
And what's the clip you're going to show?
I think it's Make or Break, yeah.
Okay, fine. Let's have a look.
I'm dying to know the answer.
It's flat.
Kate, your development strategy seems to be now to do much more paid development, do more pilots. Is that how it's going to be?
Yeah,
going
definitely.
Forward?
I mean, I've sort of said this earlier in Charlotte's session. I've been in my job just under a year. We've put over 50 ideas into paid development across everything. Of course, it's not just Saturday nights. We have BBC 2, we have BBC 3. I'm collaborating more with Daytime on quizzes, collaborating with Radio 2 and Radio 4, because there's so many more platforms that we can try things out. And you don't have to spend a huge amount of money on a pilot. Sometimes it is tasters or run-throughs, and we've commissioned stuff from sort of that stage. So the door is really, really open for more of that, I would say, definitely. Yeah.
And what's coming up? What are we going to have a look at?
So this is, we showed a clip in the other session, The Button. It's from Avalon. It's, I love a format with a sort of competition in its heart. And actually, just very quickly, you talked about the ITV juggernauts. Of course, BBC, we have sort of MasterChef and sort of Dragon's Den and The Apprentice, and people love a competition. This is competition coming more into the Ent space, and it's 5 families around the UK, and they each are given a box that arrives in their home, and it's there with them all day. And at any time the box can flash, and when it flashes, they have to hit the button, and they have to do the challenge on the screen in the fastest time and correctly. But all the families are competing against one another, and when they've done the challenge, they then see how the other families have done, and there's a cash prize at the end. And what's brilliant, and Andy Devonshire is making it with Alex Horn, who is the voice of the button, is they forget the box is there. They genuinely do it. It's there all day, and you as a viewer can see it flashing, and you're shouting out the television going, just push it at start. And it's a real snapshot of family life, as well as a very entertaining game show, I think. So, and we'll probably look at where we schedule it carefully, because it hasn't got a big name talent at its heart, but it's just they just delivered a great pilot, and I sort of had to commission it, and Charlotte loved it too, so away we went.
Any child cruelty?
Not in the pilot. There were
there's still time. Thank God.
There were a couple of kids that sort of actually no, there was one kid who did sod all. Yeah, annoying, but very entertaining, and they're lovely kids actually, and that's half the fun. Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at this clip. Peter, you, as you mentioned, launched a lot of new shows this year. What's going to be returning? What's going to happen with the nightly show?
I thought we'd escape that, and you didn't mention it, you didn't pick up earlier on. It's not been decided yet. If it does come back, it will come back after the news. So all those news fans that came out of the woodwork, we won't be tampering with that again. But it hasn't been decided yet, and that's Kevin's call anyway. But that was a kind of typical example of, it's strange, you know, you do get slagged off for not trying stuff.
Yeah.
We tried something.
Yeah.
And I said
And then you
earlier...
get slagged off
yeah,
again.
and you get
Yeah,
slagged
yeah.
off. My favourite...
By the news fans.
Yeah, by the news fans. And everyone else. I said my favourite tweet was 2 minutes before the first show started, we just got, this is utter shit. And we weren't on air.
Yeah.
So, and it kind of
Someone
went...
had a preview copy. Yeah.
It's live, there were no... Well, it was as live. There were no preview copies. But no, it's so difficult, but that hasn't been decided yet. That's for King Kevin to decide.
And what is the clip that we're going to have a look at?
The clip is a show that is coming on next month. It's called Cannonball, which was an idea they did in Australia, and we looked at it, and we did the classic ITV thing. In the first meeting, I just went, the Australian one was quite lo-fi, and we just said we want scale. If this is going to work for us, it's scale, sunshine. And the other thing I got obsessed about were ping pong balls, which I'm not sure feature in this. But have a look. But it's absolutely the kind of show I love.
Okay. Looks cheap.
You said Jay didn't like entertainment.
Well, we've nearly run out of time, that's a shame. Phil, Sky One is now a pure entertainment channel. Are you still going to be there?
I don't have I have a little sort of teaser to show rather than a clip because we sort of haven't really shot much yet because we've sort of hit the ground running. And
oh, so everyone's done exactly what I asked, except you. I can't believe it, Phil.
Well, you said you need Mavericks. So yeah, look, I mean, we're trying to do things at scale. We're trying to also kind of carve out something that we can do sort of uniquely. So if it's helpful for anyone in the room, we're sort of taking movie tropes and film tropes and trying to see if they can become kind of entertainment things. So we hit the ground running and commissioned 3 things: Sing a cappella, which is based on Pitch Perfect, Revolution, which is kind of a rollerball type thing, and a show called Carmageddon, which is just like Mad Max. You know, all you guys will come in with Ripper tapes, which is just like movies for your sizzle tapes. So we kind of thought, well, let's try and make movies of entertainment. So I think that's quite a helpful thing, and we've now kind of got ahead of ourselves. So we're going into a bigger development period now and doing a lot more piloting, really taking our time to sort of develop other things. We're looking at horror as an area, rom-com as an area, all those kind of things. So if that's helpful, that's kind of our starting point for things. So we've got a little clip. We just got Steve-O, who's hosting Revolution, just to try and explain what it is. I'm not sure he does. I'm not sure he does the job that well. So maybe we should have a rethink.
Good.
But here's a little clip of that.
Is that the celebrity challenge for next year's Edinburgh Festival?
Oh God, yes. Let's do it, Kate.
Yeah, let's do it. It's not bad enough this year.
We are going to have to wind up there, I'm afraid. Everyone, please give it up one more time for our panellists: Ed Hubbard, Steve Regan, Kate Phillips, Peter Davey and Phil Edgar Jones.